She'd already moved by then.
I mean, she done wiped out millions of accounts for the day.
Yep.
She's like, let me start my week off right.
Yep, exactly.
But I caught a small short this morning. It was like around 5 o'clock. It pushed down and broke that structure, and it popped back into the gap. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and see if I can get 10, 20 points out of this. And, I think that's about all it actually gave. He was like, no, we're not going to do that. But I had to deliver the truck. So I was like, well, close it. Just take my little $200. Be happy with it for the day.
Yeah,
that's got me 2/3 of the way to passing the challenge. So it's whatever. It is what it is. Like, all I need is one good algo trade, and then all of a sudden I'm done. Like, but I'm definitely working on my bad habits. So I gotta stop closing early, start holding a little bit better, quit jumping early. All the typical rookie shit that I still do after a really long time in the market.
You'll get there.
I need to get there soon. I'm over this bullshit.
Yeah.
Depression is really. I have slight depression, I think. So that's kind of kicked in over the weekend a little bit, and it's like, fuck. So I'm kind of going through that right now. I'm tired of being out here. So I can just always feeling like I'm never gonna fucking get there. So it's good. Like, I mean, I'm at least I'm recognizing what it is and not letting it take over. So I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Everything's all right.
What you need to do.
Crown's still an asshole.
What you need to do, all joking aside, is concentrate on the process rather than thinking about the money side of it at all. I realize that's hard because the money side's the whole reason that you don't want to be on the road and all these things. And I get it 100%, but you really just need to say, okay, entry, set up, entry, take it, over. That's it. Nothing more to it. Next one comes, set up, entry, enter. That's it. It doesn't matter. The red doesn't matter. The green doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how close we are to pass, and it doesn't matter how close we are to pay out. It doesn't matter any of that. Just continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. You won't believe how much that makes a difference. And I mean, people really don't get it until they're there doing it. Nobody really wants to look at it like that because they want to say, well, I had this much green, I'm this much closer to a payout, or I'm this much closer to passing, or I'm this much, or I had red and I don't want to deal with the red today, and I got to get that back, and I can't lose today. I can't let my account look like this. I can't finish in the red today. But what people don't get is none of it matters. None of it matters because today doesn't matter. This trade doesn't matter. I try to, emphasize that as much as I can, because what matters, for everyone is what's going to be there in 6 months, what's going to be there in a year. When you now are set at home, being able to spend time with your wife and trade full time, that's what's important, not today's red. And you don't realize that until you get to that point, because today's red's what matters to you right now, because that's what's looking at you. And then you're like, oh, I'm red. I had a loss. I got to get that back. Oh, I got to get that back. And it'll make sense, once you're there and you're doing it, and you're like, man, this red didn't matter. It doesn't matter, because why would I waste everything just because I had a red day today? Or just because I had a red trade? Why would I blow everything just for that, when tomorrow I can come back and rock and roll again? And I think that's the worst thing that people get stuck in. And the problem is, as much as I say it, you're still not going to understand it until you get there. And I realize that. And that's everybody. I'm not just, pointing at you, Dennis. It's everybody. Nobody sees it until they're there. And then they're like, well, you know what? The trade doesn't matter. The red day doesn't matter, because, after you're trading, and let's just say you've been 6 months full-time trading, I promise you, last week's red day, you won't even remember. The reason that you remember them now is because that's the day you blew your account. It wasn't a red day. It was a day that you spiraled into a downfall and blew the account. Yeah, and that's the issue. I mean, it's not about losing a trade. It's not about being red for a day or having a losing day. It's not about that. It's about, hey, I went in and I blew my account again. Once those days are over with, you'll understand that it's not worth it to blow the account. That's the whole thing. One trade shouldn't be the end of what it is you're trying to do. You shouldn't spiral into that, because as long as you take one trade and spiral into red and turn it into a, account blowing day, that's when it matters, because now you blew the account. Trade didn't blow the account. You know what I mean? One red trade didn't matter.
That's the mentality I'm working on.
Yeah, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here preaching to you for you to be like, hey, I get it now. It's tough because you want so bad for each day to be green and to move closer to getting funded, and to, if you're funded, work towards getting a payout. But these are all the goals that you're trying to accomplish, and don't realize that one trade isn't the difference between that goal unless you make it that way. One trade doesn't make the difference between passing an account or not passing an account. One trade doesn't make the difference between, getting funded or not getting funded, or getting your payout or not getting your payout, unless you make it that way. If you make one trade be the determining factor, that's where everything falls apart. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part. That echo. I got scammed by my wife last night. I was watching charts and went to pick up my kid from friend's pool party and was supposed to be like 15 minutes, and my wife decided to hang out for 2 hours. Trade properly and money will follow naturally. Exactly. I always call it a byproduct. And I know Z hates it when I say that. Z, if you're out there, good morning. He hates it when I call money the byproduct of trading, but that's really kind of how I look at it, guys. And I don't know why he doesn't like me saying that, but essentially how I look at it, right, is you follow your rules. Got a setup, got an entry, you take it, you win, you lose, doesn't matter. You won, essentially, in my thoughts, because if your strategy is consistent, then consistently you will be winning in time, right? So this win or loss doesn't matter. Today's win or loss, today's red or green day, none of that stuff matters. Just my opinion, right? But like that Echo just said, for me, the money's a byproduct. So you do exactly what you're supposed to do. You follow your rules, you take your entries, you win, you lose, however it plays out, and in the end, the money's the byproduct. That's what you get. But it's not about the money, and that's the problem. People want to be about the money, and the money's the byproduct of your system, of your edge, of your rules, of sticking to, your strategy, if you will, sticking to your setup, sticking to your entry, whatever that might be, following your rules. If you have a consistent strategy, I always try to point that out, because a lot of people, that are new here don't realize you do have to have a consistent strategy. Now, when I'm sitting here speaking with Dennis, this isn't the issue that we're talking about. He's already worked on his strategy. He's already got his stuff in place. So if your strategy is consistent, all it is about following it. It's about following your strategy and following your rules, not taking entries, not revenge trading, and then the money is the byproduct. That's what you get in the end, The
hardest part is you prove it to yourself daily that you can do this, and then you still screw it up.
Yep.
By going on tilt. That's the hardest part, honestly.
Yep. The sad thing is,
it's sticking with them even when you lose. Because I'm here to tell you, and I'm not a new trader by any stretch of the imagination, honestly, because I've been doing it for quite some time. but like it's that loss is because, okay, I'm a gambler, right? So, and my wife pointed that out to me this morning. I'm a gambler because I'm like, I just have, a couple of character flaws I need to fix, like not going on tilt. And she goes, you know what? She goes, it's not a character flaw. That's a gambling habit that you have because you do the same thing gambling, going on tilt. And like when you're in the middle of it, you can't stop. And you shouldn't be doing it. Chances are it's not going to work out for you, but you continue anyways. And in some instances that's called courage. In my instance, it's called self-sabotage. Sorry to be Jack.
No. You're exactly right. I was gonna say, only because, well, I mean, you kind of see it, but I was gonna say I know several traders because these guys DM me all the time. I talk to all these guys, and several of them don't understand why. Like I've had several traders DM me and say, I revenge trade. I know that I do it. I know that once I take a loss, this is what I do. I understand it after the fact, but during, don't even, you know what I mean? Don't even comprehend that I don't know why I do it. They say these things all the time, and it's just crazy when you think about that. And somehow, and I don't exactly know what to tell people, right? Because you have to figure out some way to rewire your brain to know that you're doing it and stop, however that be. Even if that's, and I hate to tell anybody to do this because this is a super, super hard thing to do, but if you can find no way out of it, absolutely not. You can't control yourself. Essentially, you don't even realize you're doing it. My thing would be, and again, I'm not telling you guys to do this. I'm just telling you this is what I'd do if I was in the shoes, right? But I'm super, super, super disciplined. What I would do is, as soon as I took one losing trade, I'd turn my charts off. Completely not trade until I get over it. That's my punishment. My punishment is, since you lost a trade, you will not get to try to make that money back, right? Because you can't mentally take that loss. So as soon as you take one loss, shut everything down. You don't come back till tomorrow. And I know that sounds super, super, super harsh, but at some point in time, you have to punish yourself in order to rewire your brain. And after a while, you'll say, well, this really sucks that I have to shut down every time that I take a losing trade. Maybe I can control myself a little bit, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks after doing that, you say, all right, let's give it a try again and see if I can do it. And if you can't, if you're right back to the same place you were, take a loss, shut it down. That's it. That's all you got to do. Your mind will eventually adjust to it, believe it or not. People don't believe that. Is it tough? Yes, absolutely. Do you have to be disciplined? Yes, absolutely. But you've got to be disciplined to gamble at all. And when we're talking about gambling, wife says, come from a professional gambling background and think it directly translates to risk management and trading. Yes, but people don't like when we say trading is gambling. Yes, exactly. And it is. It's a trading's a gambling mindset just the same. And when you gamble, it's the same thing. The biggest problem, when they say things like degenerate gamblers, right? What's the difference between a degenerate gambler and a pro gambler? Not a lot. If you start thinking about all the things that a degenerate gambler does, all they are is a win away from being a professional. All joking aside, that's it. And people don't believe that don't understand gambling, but that's exactly what it is. Why? Because we all got to be somewhat degenerate, right? In order to even be in this game, in order to be in any of these games, in order to gamble, you almost got to be a degenerate, right? Like, how else do you got to be around it? However, if you don't figure out a way to limit losses, and this is what I say all the time, limit losses. If you cannot find a way to limit losses, your wins are never going to matter. And that's the issue. Your wins just won't matter.
You hear that, Paul? Pay attention, bro.
Degens don't make money. Professional degens do, however. Exactly. Professional degens. And that's I love the way that you phrase that, Paul, because it's funny that so many people that, I mean, you want to talk about something, and I know a lot of you guys aren't huge into poker, but the moneymaker, for any of you guys that ever followed along with the World Series of Poker, years ago when all of it started and everything else, the moneymaker was a degenerate gambler. He won his seat off the internet, and before that, before he started playing poker, essentially he owed every bookie in town. I mean, he was a degen gambler, and then went on to be the winner of the World Series of Poker, and made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Continued to play through there, but where do you think all people start out, right? The difference between a person who continues to be a degen gambler and somebody who becomes a professional, poker player, trader, whatever you want to say, is the fact that they figured out a way to limit their losses and not just, not go palm their wedding rings in order to make the next bet, not go, mortgage their house and car in order to fund the next horse race. You see what I'm saying? And again, I mean, I say horse race because people look at that as big degens. That's what we see on TV and everything else. But you got to understand, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money bet on horses, professionally handicapping horses, and they make their living that way, right? So it's the same situation as everything else, right? It's all about finding an edge, managing risk, and consistency. Exactly. Exactly. Move down is still coming, guys. We got to figure out some way to get involved here. We need to close below. There was the sweep of that wick, just like we talked about. But again, we just no way to get involved. Cooking
YM was pumping.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, YM was pumping. She's just put a wick on the previous candle, and she's pushing up on the 1 and 4 big step.
Yeah. See that.
And we're at 0.616 of the wick to the left as well.
Yeah. Very nice, very nice. What's Dixie doing? Nothing really. Interesting. For some reason you won? Well, G-Flock, I mean,